Hello there and welcome to Chitta Diaries. I hope you're good. I don't know why, anyways, I've come on with so much energy, but I guess it's a good thing because it's like positive energy. I'm mad hype for some reason. I hope you're good. Today's video is going to be one that is really chill. I have no idea how long it's going to be, but I have a feeling it will be long. And I've been doing like back-to-back hair videos or just tutorials that take so much time and effort, and I wanted to just relax for today, sit down and have a chat with you guys, if that's okay. But it will still be natural hair related content, so if you clicked on this and you aren't someone who's invested in the natural hair community, you don't even do your own natural hair like that, like, you can definitely skip this one because I might get really deep and passionate about certain issues and you just be looking at me like, what is she talking about? Yeah. So yeah, that's like, like a cute little disclaimer. Oh, by the way, like if you watch my previous video, sidebar, this is the fro hop like I was trying to achieve on that first day wash and go hair, and today is day 9. I know, but I am washing my hair today, like I promise. But I really stretched out this wash and go, even though it's kind of flaking. But yeah, it's like a sidebar, like, I finally got the shrunken fro hawk I wanted. But yeah, I'm not sure what the title of this video is going to be, but I wanted to discuss, it's not really a new bandwagon. Our YouTube always has bandwagons. I feel like it's been brewing and it's been picking up, like speed and momentum. So it's two things. The first thing is people have been trying to cancel the hair typing system. So the type 1s, type 2s, type 3s, type 4s, type of, yeah, like that Andre Walker hair typing system. And there's some merit to that argument, though I'm still for hair typing, as I will explain in this video. So that's the first bandwagon, and that one, like, I'll be like, okay, fine, here and there, like I get it, but would I cancel it? No. And then along with that, let's cancel the hair typing system, there's been this new bandwagon of your curl pattern doesn't matter, like stop obsessing about what your hair looks like or how it coils, because you don't need to. Basically, people have been saying your curl pattern is not important and it's a waste of time for you to know your curl pattern if you want to grow your hair out. If you want to grow your hair and take care of your hair, your curl pattern isn't important. Now that has been triggering me, and it was something that started slowly, and I was like, that's annoying. But then each time I would hear someone else say it, and even some of my faves, even people that I will like eventually recommend, they are on this bandwagon. By the way, like if you can hear noise in the background, I apologize. Like today is August 1st, it's a public holiday where I live, so everybody is home and making noise in the background, so I'm really sorry if you can hear people in the back. Oh, for flip's sake. Okay, I have to come back once that person starts making noise. Yes, I've even forgotten what I was saying. But yeah, I think, yeah, I was talking about this whole bandwagon of how your curl pattern doesn't matter if you're trying to grow your hair out. Like that has been pissing me off, and then each time I would hear it, I would kind of get triggered, and I kept wondering why I was so upset. Like why am I taking this so seriously? So I deeped it, as the kids say these days, and I had so many epiphanies, and I wanted to just, break them down and unpack them bit by bit. So I hope, you can come along with me on this wild overthinking ride, and hopefully we can just have a conversation and, yeah, talk about this issue. So the first thing that I want to just, explain at the very least is what I like to call a hair profile. And I've seen lots of people, categorize their hair with a profile and not just say I'm 4C. So that indeed is helpful. So I first and foremost identify as someone with kinky hair, sometimes kinky coily, depending on whether it's a styling tutorial. I have kinky hair, kinky coily hair. So that I guess is my curl pattern. And then I also have low porosity hair. So in fact, the people on this whole bandwagon of your curl pattern doesn't matter, the thing that they're pushing the most is know your hair porosity. Like your hair porosity is the most important thing, and I feel like it's important. I always tell people what my porosity is in my videos, but it's not the only thing. And I feel like that's being ridiculous if we're not just going to sit here and act like the only thing that matters is your porosity. So yeah, I do take into account my porosity, but it can't be the only thing that I should consider. So the next thing is porosity. So I have low porosity hair. By the way, all these terms that I mentioned, like I said, if you aren't in the natural hair community, like, I apologize, like maybe this video isn't for you, but for everybody else, you know, who knows all the terms, etc, whatnot, like, yeah, let us continue. So yeah, like I said, first and foremost, look at the type of hair that I have. So like I said, it's kinky and coily. I look at my porosity. I identify as, you know, as someone who has low porosity hair. And then next thing is my density. So when I part my hair and look at my scalp, like some people have high density hair, like when they part their hair, you can barely see their scalp because their hair appears thick, you know, on their scalp itself. And then for some people like me, I have low density hair, so like it appears really thin when I part my hair, so I have low density hair. And the next thing is the, I guess, texture, like what your hair actually feels like what the actual individual strands are like. So there's coarse versus fine. So I have fine strands of hair, so like they're really, really, like the actual strand itself is thin. And then there's people who have coarse hair. So now all of these things play a part in somebody's hair profile, and I feel like everything is important. Like, if you would like to grow your hair, maintain it, and just win at this whole thing, it's important to take all of these aspects into consideration. And now when it comes to the hair typing chart, this is where now if you're looking for, you know, information or just trying to narrow it down to somebody who has hair that looks like yours, I feel like it is very, very, very important to me. Like, it still is. So I identify as 4C and 4B, but I understand why people say you should cancel it because there's so much confusion. There was a point where, for many, many years actually, like I identified as 4B when I was relaxed, and for the first, I think even like 6 to 7 months of me having gone back to natural, I continued to identify as 4B until I, you know, like I asked here and there, and then I deeped, you know, the hair typing chart where it originated, and just, you know, most people who identify with the curl pattern 4C, and now I have realized that I have majority 4C hair, but I will get into all of that later. But I just thought I should give like a brief, you know, intro of what a hair profile is and how indeed everything is important. Like, we shouldn't just sit here and act like your curl pattern isn't important, and all you need to know is your hair porosity. And in the same vein, just knowing that your hair is 4C isn't very helpful. Like, it's a guide, it will get you to where you need to go, but yeah, at the same time, like I said, like, it's a great guide, so let's not discount a bit. But yeah, with that being said, let's now move on to the next thing that I want to talk about. So the next thing I want to talk about is just the concept of black hair. And I'm a bit nervous going into this one, but like I said, I hope this can be, you know, like a video where we can just chat and have like just a good conversation about these things. And yeah, with regards to the concept of what black hair is, now just to give you a bit of some background in case you're new, I am Zambian. So Zambia is a small country in southern Africa, and yeah, we have access to the internet in case you're watching this from the West. But with regards to the natural hair movement of my generation, and you know, the way I saw it unfold, for me, I first saw, you know, like you know, I guess like the biggest impact, it came from the West. Like, it came from the States and everything. Like, if you're watching this from the States, like, you guys, I guess, pioneered this generation's natural hair movement, which is nice because here I am sitting with my natural hair. Like, if it wasn't for bloggers or YouTubers, I would probably still be relaxed, like, honestly, truly. So yeah, kudos to, you know, the pioneers of like the early to mid 2000s, and even just the YouTubers who came up in the 2010s. But yes, so the natural hair movement, like I said, for me, the first people who I saw, you know, who inspired me came from the States, came from the West. Now, the concept of black hair in the States, the way I see it versus where I come from, and I can comfortably speak on behalf of like people in Zambia, even just like Southern Africa for the most part. Black hair, or even just being black, or like the racial identity of being black is very, very different. Like, it's actually very, very different. And if you grew up in the States and that's all you've known, it would blow your mind to know how the rest of the world, categorizes or just identifies their people or citizens in terms of race. So I feel like the major issue, and I think I can I can call it problematic, without being afraid of saying that. But when it comes to the States, they have the one drop rule. So they, or you guys, you've always had the one drop rule. Things are slowly changing, but it's like you still have a long way to go. And because you have the one drop rule, so if anybody doesn't know what the one drop rule is, it's something that was there, I guess, during slavery, even just spilling into the 1900s, even up to now. It's where you could, okay, I, could have a white partner, and we could have biracial kids, and those kids, like those first generation biracial kids, would still have to identify as black. And then if one of those kids, say, had a child with someone who was, who I identified as fully white, maybe their kids could identify as biracial, because they wouldn't, immediately appear to be, what is classified as black in the States. So you can imagine, okay, for the Zambians watching this, or people just in Southern Africa, like, you can imagine what that's like, and how it's created such a vast demographic of what it means to be black. So, if okay, the way I say, I feel like anybody in the States can identify as black. Like, it's anybody can be black. Like you just have to, like if you aren't white, or if you aren't another race, or if you have even just one black grandparent or great grandparent, like, you will either be bullied to identify as black, and it's just a whole bunch of confusion going on, which is kind of sad, like, to watch from my end. But yeah, that's something that happened. And because of that, because of how people identify as black, you know where this is going. Their category of black hair is also extremely diverse, and to me, it is too diverse. It is too like, if you're trying to start a natural hair movement that is focused on people who have been marginalized, they've experienced a lot of hate, it becomes tricky. And I will break that down even further as I keep going. So now I will give you, like, some background, like, in case you aren't familiar with how other people or just other countries, function, or how they're run, where I come from. If you are biracial or mixed race and the like, you can, no one expects you to identify as black. In fact, no one will even think of you as black. Like, no one will look at you and assume that you're black. Like, there's just, so, like, some certain obvious phenotypes or features that just go without saying, where you will not be categorized as black. Like, it's really, really obvious. Whereas in the States, it becomes an issue, it's a debate, it's political. For the rest of us, we're just like, fam, this person isn't black. Like it is what it is. And because of that, like, people are allowed and they're okay. Like, they embrace their black side versus any other admixture that they have. Like, you're allowed to be, to say, I am part black, I am part white, or part Asian, like, you're allowed. And because of that, I think it's been easier. It's easier, and it just makes more sense. And like I said, like, I will eventually break this down, and how it's not always a bad thing. And I know, even when, as people are arguing, like why do, like, type 4s always have to fight with type 3s and vice versa, and why people want the hair typing chart to be cancelled, because they're like, all you're causing is division and separation. Like black people, already, black people already go through so much. Like, why separate yourself over something as stupid as hair? And on paper, that sounds like it makes perfect sense. Like, why separate people based off of hair? Like, it's just hair. Like, why must you divide yourselves and fight over something as simple as hair? Now, this is the thing. The way I saw sorry, like it's cold, and then beginning to shiver a bit, like I should have worn something warmer. But I assumed like my lights would make me sweat. But anyways, let me continue. So as I was saying, um, the way I saw the original natural hair movement, it was for people with, kinky hair, kinky natural hair, because and because of how vague being black is in the West, I would just specify and say kinky hair, kinky coily hair. People with kinky coily hair for decades, even just generations at this point, very few, especially in the West, like where I come from, we are a majority black country, but for the most part, like it's been difficult, embracing your natural hair, just going out in the world. It could be for work, it could be like even just an interview, it could be school, even just like your social life, going on a date. Most of the time, it's a science. And that's why for generations and generations, people would straighten their hair, they would relax it, they would wear wigs. It was very difficult for you to just embrace your kinky natural hair, especially in countries where black people are the minority and there's so much systematic racism. Like, it's really, really sad. And that's why the natural hair movement began. Okay, that's why it began. Now, where we are right now, the natural hair movement is an all-inclusive community. And lots of people have fought and argued and just defended people who might be, like, who might even identify as biracial, or even just people who identify as black, who have full-on type 3 hair. It could be 3A or 3B, and how they need to be a part of the natural hair community. And to be honest, like I'm actually subscribed to people from all sorts of backgrounds, and I've heard their stories, how they, went natural. And it's valid, like it's stories that have to be told. I know, like, again, like, please don't come for me, but this is just based off of a couple of people. Like, I don't want to, like, kind of label the entire Ethiopian or Somalian community, but I know that, people with maybe say 3C, 4A hair, them wearing their natural hair is a really, really big deal, because the colorism and just texture discrimination in such communities, like it's rampant, So like it's a beautiful thing just hearing people's stories and how, them going curly, even though they're calling it natural, it meant a lot to them. I've also seen people with full-on like 3A, 3B curly hair. I think I'd watched an Egyptian girl talk about her experience going curly, and like these are beautiful stories. And even for her, like she said, she was coming from an environment where all the women in her family just wore their hair straight, because they were trying to lean towards, the whole, I guess, like Arab or just Persian look of long, straight, silky, dark hair. And if you have curly hair or like bushy hair or frizzy hair, like it was a problem. and you needed to just conceal it and the like it was the whole thing. And again, I'm not saying that's how everybody is in that country or that community, but I've heard these stories and how people have just embraced the hair that naturally comes out of the head, and it's a beautiful thing. But but just because we decided to be an all-inclusive community, it doesn't mean that we are equal. And that's where the biggest argument comes from kinky haired naturals. And I feel like people really need to sit back and this is the thing. Sometimes it comes from people who might be type 3 or type 2, defending themselves. And sometimes it's people who look like me, with hair like me, who are defending people with type 3 or type 2 hair, talking about how like we're being so dumb, trying to separate people, or just be mean, or being gatekeepers. And I've noticed that like it's always like black women, well, my version of what black women are. It's always black women feeling sorry for everybody else. Like, am I the only person who's not, like, it's always black women who are feeling sorry for other people, who are trying to be accommodating. And I'm like, but who's feeling sorry for you? Like, who's feeling sorry for you? And when it comes to, again, like the whole all-inclusive thing, people keep arguing about how, like, we're all in this together, we're all black, like, let's not fight, like, we're all going through it, people out there see us as the same. And I'm like, in what world? In what world, honestly? And that's where I tend to agree with the gatekeepers and the bullies because, again, I will go back to the original natural hair movement. If you look at everybody else's hair type, like kinky aside, yes, people have stories where, they had to alter their hair to tame it and whatnot to just kind of assimilate, to Eurocentric feature, to Eurocentric ideals of beauty, where like your hair has to be straighter or sleeker or just silky looking. But at the very least, everybody else could wear their own hair. Like, you didn't have to chemically straighten your hair. You didn't have to wear a wig for decades. Okay, us walking out with our hair looking like this is a big deal. Like even now, I swear, like, it's 2021. I live in a majority black country. Most people where I live have type 4 hair. Of course, I know people are like, oh my gosh, like the Africans with type 3 hair. Yes, they are native Africans with type 3 hair. But let's be real, okay? The majority are type 4, ranging from 4A, 4B to 4C, and 4Z, which is something I'll talk about later. But most of us have kinky coily hair. Some kinky curly, but for the most part, like you get what I'm saying. So anyways, even though I am coming from a majority black country, someone's baby is hungry or has been neglected. I'll be back. Alrighty, so I'm back. Whew. Like, I even went to eat something, like that child cried. Like, each time I hear a toddler have the meltdown, I'm just like, I am not ready. I'll continue to be a rich auntie, like, you'll go through it. But anyways, oh, I have some tea here with me. Where was I? Again, I apologize for how PC this is. Like, I had forgotten that I live in the ghetto and it's very loud during the day. Like, I haven't done a sit down like this in so many years. Like, I had forgotten how loud it is. So that's why there's so many disturbances. I truly, truly apologize. The next time I do a sit down to be like at midnight or something, which is when I usually even record like my voiceovers for my hair videos. Like, I didn't realize it was this noisy during the day. But anyways, I digress. I was talking about how even though I live in a majority black country and have kinky natural hair, like most of the people who I see around me look like me or have hair like me, it's still really, really difficult for people to walk around with confidence. I mean, some of us have gotten to a point where we have no F's to give, but for the most part, like, people really have to make that conscious decision to move with their natural hair, and there's a lot of taming that goes on, quote unquote taming. So yeah, with regards to inclusivity, like, just in case you're looking at me and thinking I'm just pulling accusations and statements out of my butthole, I will give an example of how, like, we really aren't equals in this all-inclusive natural hair community, and it's sad. Like, it's sad, and that's why when type 4 naturals are trying to just get more representation or try and make this movement their own because they are the ones who need it the most, please, people with looser curl patterns or wavy or curly hair, like, just take a back seat, please, because you're coming from a place of privilege. You think we're all the same, but we aren't. Like, you haven't walked a day in the shoes of somebody who has kinky natural hair. So I want to give one real life example. Some of you might be familiar with there was an H&M scandal. First of all, there have so many like racially charged scandals, but this one was really, really upsetting to me because the scandal was caused by the black community, or just people catching feelings over this little girl who had type 4C hair, and people got upset. And some of you might be familiar with that. If you aren't familiar with that story, I will try and look for some pictures and put it up. But basically, it was a campaign for, I think, kids, like, after school outfits for H&M, and it was like an online campaign. So I guess the ad went up. There were a whole bunch of kids, and even later on, like, when they were explaining themselves after the outrage, they literally said that we had asked, parents or guardians to come with the models, like the kids who are models, literally after they had come from school, because we wanted to have this carefree look. Like, that was the concept for the photo shoot, where the little girls should come with like messy buns, or whatever the version of a messy bun is. Now, I'm sorry, excuse me, it's been a while since I've looked at those pictures, but I believe there must have been a little white girl, again, in a messy bun. Maybe it was even like an Asian child. I will correct myself if I'm wrong, or I will just show those pictures. But there were a whole bunch of kids. All of them had messy buns or messy after school hair. No one said anything about that because we're conditioned to think that that's okay, that's cute, that's fine. This little girl with 4C hair caused an outrage, you guys, and I was like even to this day when I think about it, like I know like I might look like I'm joking or I'm cracking jokes here, but that actually saddened me. Like I legit felt sad that day, like a deep sadness within me. Like I'm not even joking. Like it was real sadness because I could see myself in this child's, yeah, like in just this child's demeanor and the hair, and that is what my hair looked like. Like that is literally what my hair would look like after school. My mom, like bless her, or even just like my aunt or my sisters growing up, they'll put my hair in what like I used to call like Minnie Mouse like puffs. But honestly, like by 10 hours break time, like for us Zambians, like by the end of break time, like my edges would have like shrunken up and everything. And after school, like forget about it. Like your hair isn't all tucked in the ponytail that it was put in. Like I could see myself in that child, and I could see so many other little black girls with hair like that. Like that's what they look like. Now, please tell me why a bunch of grown-ups on the internet caught feelings. They were so mad. First of all, they first went after H&M, saying they did that on purpose. Like why would they portray a child who looked unkempt and scruffy? Like why would they do that? Like H&M like were just trying us. And I'm like, that's literally what a little girl with 4C hair would look like after school. And then after they went after H&M, they went after this child's mom or guardian saying she should know better. Like how dare she show up with her kid who looks like that for a whole photo shoot for like a major clothing line campaign. She should have combed that child's hair. And then so, like even some of my faves, like who to be honest, okay fine, there was one in particular, like I won't even mention her, but like I unsubscribed. And I'm someone who never dislikes, it takes a lot for me to dislike a video, and I even judge people who dislike videos anyhow. But I disliked her. Like I've never forgotten that. I could not believe that she was saying that with her chest, and she has curly hair. She's black, brown skinned. But I remember her categorically stating that she was on the side of people who are upset about how this child looked and how this child's mother should know better. And she literally wanted the kid. I think this kid even looks like they're below the age of 10. She wanted this child's hair to be like quote unquote, like this child's hair should have been slicked down with some edge control or gel to look presentable. That look was unacceptable. So this, my friends, okay, if you've come this far, this is an example of how we aren't equal in this natural hair movement. In as much as we would like to cover our eyes or just, kumbaya as a group, things haven't changed that much. I mean, we've made a bit of progress, but we have a long way to go before kinky hair is accepted. And that was the whole point of the natural hair movement. And people don't seem to understand that. So if just a child, and I think that was like 2018, like this wasn't even that far back. 2018, whole adults, people outside of YouTube, people even within YouTube who you would think would know better, were going after this kid. And it just goes to show you the hate that people have for type 4C hair. So it's very, very, very sad. Or even just kinky hair. And with regards to YouTube and people who keep saying, the natural hair movement needs to be all inclusive, again, we live in bubbles. We live in a YouTube or Instagram bubble where I can sit here I'm alone at home. I could post pictures on Instagram like I'm here in my house. I can do whatever I want. We'll hype each other up. We'll make each other feel loved and accepted. But out there in the real world, like that example of that little girl on the H&M ad, like things still haven't changed that much, and it's really, really sad. And that's why we've been fighting so hard, to get to a place where our hair can be acceptable and people can literally just wear the hair that goes out of their heads. It's very, very important for us to get representation. And because we aren't getting representation, because we live in a world where, fine, quite alright, before everyone needed to have straight hair. But even before, like relaxers and whatnot, like we know, let me say deep down, like it's very very obvious and out there that people with curly hair have always held a certain advantage over people with kinky hair. Like it's just the truth. Like it really is the truth. It could be opportunities, representation. People with curly hair are the more palatable black people, you know, to places of opportunity. And again, like I said, I live in Zambia. It's a majority black country, so that doesn't always apply to us. But I know for people in the West, like you know what I'm talking about. So within this all-inclusive natural hair community, of course, people are just going to automatically gravitate towards people with curly hair, which just defeats the whole purpose of type 4 kinky naturals trying, to get recognition. If you're going to share a space with people who already have an advantage with you and you say you're all the same, people are just automatically going to gravitate towards, type 3s, which is what happens. It could be views, it could be sponsorships, and sometimes like I chuckle when I see like a natural hair campaign for like a new product line or something. It would be like a whole row of type 3 naturals, and there'll be like one token 4C girl, or maybe it would be like a 4C girl and a 4A girl, like just like standing in the corner waving, saying hi, I'm here for diversity. But for the most part, like that's what mainstream natural hair campaigns look like. It's really really sad. So please, like the next time you sit there and say with your chest that this needs to be all inclusive, I hope you can take all of these things into consideration and don't just think it's people speaking from a place of bitterness and jealousy. For some it is. For some it is. For some it's very very hateful and spiteful. But for the most part, it's people who are just trying to get to a place where they already accept the natural hair, but the world doesn't, and they're trying with a movement that began for them to get to a place where that little girl being, amongst other girls with messy hair, that shouldn't have been a problem. People shouldn't have caught feelings. People shouldn't have felt insecure on her behalf just because she was wearing her hair the way it's supposed to look. So that's on that. And I know this video will be too long, so I could actually expand further on this, but I want to stop and just move on to some other topics that I wanted to discuss. So yeah, let's move on to the next thing. Hey, so as I was waiting for like my battery to like cool down and everything, I remembered that I have a picture of me with like the two Minnie Mouse puffs that I had when I was a kid. So like I went and grabbed it. This is like old school 90s photos. Look at me! How cute! Yes, I grew into my ears. Thank goodness for that. But yeah, I just remembered this photo. So cute! Anywho, let's continue. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is 4C hair and what 4C hair is. By the way, if you've come this far, thank you. I hope you're enjoying it. Leave a comment, because I know like I'll talk about so many things. So if you want, you can even break stuff down if indeed like you want to respond to like the stuff that I brought up. But the next thing that I want to talk about is what is 4C hair and why it is the category that makes the most noise on YouTube, and why there's so much confusion, and why people want us to have the hair chart or the hair typing chart cancelled, because there's so much confusion. People are always fighting about who has 4C hair and who doesn't. Now, that brief background I've given you as to what it means to be black in the States versus what it means to be black where I come from. 4C hair, just by virtue of what it entails, the chart labels 4C hair as the tightest curl or coil pattern on the chart. So once you say this is the tightest curl pattern, like anybody, if you live in an environment where you have the tightest curl pattern, you just assume that you have 4C hair because you haven't seen anybody else's hair type. And I feel like that's why there's so much confusion. At first, I thought people would just do that out of ignorance. Granted, some people do that out of ignorance. Some people do it because they want views. Like we know them, we've been going after them. Though I have stopped bullying people. Like I've actually stopped bullying people, and I'm ashamed of like my comments in the past bullying people who weren't 4C, and we knew that they knew they weren't 4C, but they're just doing it for views. I'm a better person now. But I came to understand that you know what, for some people, they live in environments where for me, I might look at their hair and it looks like a 4A, 4B texture. Definitely not 4C, but for them, that's like they have the tightest curl pattern in their family, their neighborhood. So they think it's like they just assume it's 4C because according to the hair typing chart, 4C is the kinkiest like coil pattern or curl pattern on the chart. So that's why there's so much confusion about 4C hair in the West. Now, where I come from, because like I said, the natural hair movement began in America. So when people were starting blogs, eventually YouTube channels, you guys in the West were the pioneers, and then for us, we would just watch. Like we eventually caught on, and even I looked at the chart because I was trying to learn, and I saw 4C as the tightest coil pattern. Now, where I come from, like I know it will shock you, but where I come from, I know so many people. Like I don't even have to look far. Like it's not like these are people with like a very very like unique and like rare to find curl pattern. I know so many people whose hair is a smaller coil pattern than mine. So I just assumed I had 4B hair, and I identified as 4B throughout my lax hair journey, like I had mentioned at the beginning of the video. Even the first 6 months or so of my natural hair journey, I thought I had 4B hair, but I didn't really claim it. But in the back of my mind, I just assumed I have 4B hair. But then I began to deep the situation and just like the history of America and what it means to have black hair. And I understood why certain people who to me look like they have looser curl patterns would identify as 4C, because being black or just black hair is so vast there that I now understand, what even just that whole group of 4C hair looks like, and I get it. And that's why now I can confidently identify as somebody with 4C here, because of like the whole mixture going on there. Even though people I identify as black, yes, their average or their spectrum 4C is that type of curl pattern, whereas for me, if we're looking at black hair in an African context, yeah, or like a native black African context, I used to think I was 4B because I knew people with tighter curl patterns, but now I know. Now I know that I have 4C here with like a bit of 4B here and there, like it kind of merges into something else that I just call 4B. But I know now with all the confidence that I am a type 4C natural. So I wanted to just talk about what 4C hair is and how I identify. And the next thing that I want to talk about, because now I've given you this background of how I thought I had 4B hair, because there are people with a far tighter coil pattern than mine, and I want to talk about 4C hair. And honestly, truly, we need to sit down, like just take a breath and really like just like open our ears, open our minds, and think about this, because I feel like we should take it seriously. Again, if you've come this far, like clearly you must be invested in the natural hair movement. Like I don't think anybody who isn't is still watching. But yeah, I feel like we need to take this seriously and stop treating it like a joke. So what is 4Z hair? Currently, like honestly, truly, like currently 4Z hair is a joke. Like it's a sort of funny trope that people reference. Like if you're trying to speak about a section of the hair that's particularly difficult or just doesn't coil, it almost sounds derogative when people are like, oh, like this is even 4Z hair. And then I've seen people with coil patterns that are tighter than the average 4C, who to me, embody that 4Z type of hair. And they don't know where they fall on the chart. Like they categorize as 4C because again, 4C is the tightest, curl pattern on the spectrum. But their needs aren't the same as someone, even like me, who identifies as 4C. And because nobody wants to take 4Z hair seriously, it's always a joke, it's always something negative, I actually feel really, really bad. I mean, I can't speak for somebody with 4Z hair, but I can just imagine. Because for a long time, by the way, well, not by the way, like again, if you've come this far, like in the natural hair community, so you know how we didn't even have a 4C initially with that original typing chart. Like we had to add a 4C just so we could get some representation. So now, like just imagine, if there wasn't a 4C before, because people just didn't think, curl patterns went this deep, what more people with even tighter curl patterns than mine? Like, we need to take that seriously. They need to get some shine, and we need to stop treating it like a joke. I will give just like one short analogy. Bear with me. I hope this is flowing. I honestly do. But there's a YouTuber called Nimatang. Some of you know who Nimatang is. If you don't, like, I'll try and insert a picture or something. But Nimatang blew up, you guys. Like, she blew up so quickly, and she is an actual dark-skinned black woman. Of course, she's based in the States, but she's of Sudanese ethnicity or citizenship, I guess. I'm not sure which one it is, but she's very, very dark-skinned. And she did a series, which I actually watched at some point, called The Darkest Shade, where she would review the darkest shade of foundation in most mainstream makeup brands. And she went viral because there's actually not even a niche, there's a whole demographic of women with her skin complexion who struggle finding foundation or even just any type of complexion product. And because of Nimatang, like, Nimatang single-handedly changed the game for actual dark-skinned black women, and she's taken seriously. She's like an industry lead in terms of YouTube and just makeup and skincare and whatnot. Companies actually send her stuff. She gets sponsored because now, because of Nimatang, like, she blew up. Like, within 6 months, she went from having like a few thousand subscribers to like over 1 million subscribers. And it took someone like her getting that kind of attention and support from, her community, for companies, to realize that there's a whole demographic of women who are just ignored. Like, people would make complexion products and just end somewhere, or everyone else, with darker shades, like, were an afterthought because people just didn't think there was no market for that. Or maybe they thought, like, there's like there's like 6 people max, with Nimatang's skin tone in the world. Like, maybe like we shouldn't bother too much. And there's literally hundreds of thousands of women who look like her, if not millions. So with that, being said, I feel like we need to stop taking 4Z hair, as a joke. Like, there are people out here who want to take care of the hair, embrace it just as much as we do. And I hope, we can take it seriously if it means them having their own category. And I know you're looking at me like, but why, go through all that trouble? Because they exist and they matter, and their voices, need to be heard. Like, they should be allowed to, just embrace their hair. And there are very few people with like really, really tightly coiled hair. And before, like I sat down to film this, like, I actually thought about it, like, okay, like, people who unsubscribe to, like, who can I see here who has, that typical 4Z hair. By the way, this is a curl pattern that I see all around. Like, I've grown up, even just people in my family, school, whatever. Like, I know people with this type of hair, so I know it exists. Like this curl pattern is actually very common where I'm from. So I don't understand why there isn't that much anyways, no, I understand why there isn't that much representation, because again, people hate, kinky hair. So it's a struggle. Like, why even bother? Yeah, but anyway, the point is, I feel like, we should take it seriously. If it means introducing a category of type 5, even better, or just acknowledge that 4Z is an actual hair type that probably have needs that we don't even know about. And I hope, this, if you've come this far, can spark a conversation. If you have 4Z hair, I hope you can embrace it. It means you being the next Nimatang and just, leading like a whole movement of people who need to be recognized. I hope that happens, and I hope nobody's looking at me and thinking I'm ridiculous or a clown saying all this. I actually hope we can take it seriously. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about 4Z hair. Alrighty, so we're heading towards the end, but yeah, I think I have like 2 more points to address. So the next thing that I want to talk about is styling, and this is just going to like rein myself back into what this video was about to begin with, which is this whole debate of how the hair chart is useless and you don't need to know your curl pattern. So let's go back the very beginning of those points of how I have a hair profile, and I like to look at my density, my porosity, what number I am on the chart, the actual strands of hair that I have, whether they are fine or coarse and the like. So once again, the argument is that you should just know your hair porosity. So this is high porosity versus low porosity. That's all you need, and you will grow your hair out. Now, what is growing? You know, what does growing your hair actually mean? Like most people say, it's like a standard answer. Our hair is constantly growing. For as long as we're alive, our hair is constantly growing. What we actually mean is retaining length. Now, even if you figure out your porosity, by the way, figuring out my porosity has been extremely helpful on my natural hair journey thus far, but I cannot look at somebody whose hair is looser than mine, who only deals with 50% shrinkage versus me who deals with 80 to 90% shrinkage, and my hair is just, in its element. I mean, okay, like I don't want to mess with my forehead, but if I pulled my hair, like, it's somewhere down here. So I might find somebody with low porosity hair quite alright. They may have great tips, and by the way, like I watched some people with low porosity hair, but I got to a point where I was wise enough to realize that I can get tips here and there, but this shouldn't be the end all and be all. I need to find people with 4C hair as well as low porosity, and that's something that is really, really important. I mean, yes, you don't have to know what your curl pattern is, but I'm like, fine, low porosity is important, but please look at the videos of people with 4C hair and low porosity. And the reason why I'm saying this is just, for example, fine, knowing that your porosity, okay, for me who's low porosity, I tend to avoid using thick products. If I'm going to use a thick product, I reduce the number of layers that I'm using. So on wash day, like first of all, like wash day, you can use whatever you want because it's going to be washed off. There, like I don't even think your porosity matters. Now, like today, like I have to go and wash my hair, you guys. If I'm watching somebody with looser hair, they don't have much of a detangling session compared to me. Like I need to take the time and detangle my hair. Even when washing my hair, like right now it's short, but I know people with long hair. You can't watch somebody with looser hair, a looser hair texture just because they're also low porosity, having the hair down in the shower. I mean, some people do wash their hair in one section, but I've seen a lot of people, especially people with thick hair, who put their hair in twists. Kinky, 4C hair, they put their hair in twists. If you go and follow somebody with a looser hair texture and watch their routine and watch them use a conditioner with no slip, like how are you going to detangle your hair? And retaining length, okay, growing your hair is all about length retention. And if you're going to be fighting with your ends, it's counterproductive. It honestly is. So that's like the main thing I want to talk about. Yes, quite right. Like eventually, if you're dealing with styling or moisturizing, you want to use lighter products, or products if you're going to be thick, maybe just one thick product and one light product. If you're going to use 3 layers, it has to be like light products if you're low porosity. Now, even the products that we use, you guys, it's different. The fact that our hair coils around itself means that it's prone to dryness. It's actually prone to dryness, and even the moisturizers that you're going to seek are very different from somebody that might have a looser curl pattern. So essentially, like you still have to go and look for somebody with your type of hair, like 4C hair or just kinky coily, like, or someone close enough to your hair type, even as you are trying to look for low porosity. I feel like it's very, very important, and hopefully that makes sense. Like, let's not lie to ourselves or be naive in these bandwagons and statements that people keep putting out. So that's what I wanted to talk about with regards to porosity. Density is also important. That has drastically helped me out with styling. Like, if you have low density hair, we always seek volume because we're trying to hide our scalp. If you have fine textured hair, like I've come to learn that like direct heat or straightening, like with a flat iron, it's not our friend. Like if in fact, if you can avoid it, do a roller set or something. You can flat iron once in a while, but unlike our friends with coarse strands of hair, being like the actual strand is actually thick, like they can get away with flat ironing even once a month if they want to, blow drying all the time. We cannot. I cannot straighten and just go in with direct heat on my hair. I can use indirect heat, but not direct heat as often. Like this, I know. And again, knowing your entire hair profile is important, but I would rather hear it from somebody who is also dealing with tightly coiled hair. Like, it's just like it goes without saying, you guys, like it's just common sense. Like, how do we keep allowing ourselves to get bamboozled in this all-inclusive natural hair movement? But I digress. Now I want to touch on styling. That's the next thing that I want to talk about, and how please, like, your curl pattern is so important. And I know there are a lot of people who can agree with me. Even as you are starting your natural hair journey, if you've gotten to a point now where you've accepted it and you figured things out and you're in a very comfortable space, finding people with hair that looks like you is so important. Again, I'm going to go back to the history of race in America, how the natural hair movement started, where we are now, and why, because of systematic racism and just, this proximity to Eurocentric standards of beauty, type 3 hair has become the new relaxer. Like people say, like, curly hair is the new relaxer. So because of that, and a lot of people have actually pointed this out, like that this isn't me saying something revolutionary. Some people have pointed out and questioned why the standard styles of natural hair are things like twist outs, braid outs, bantu knot outs. It could be a perm rod set or a roller set, or the infamous wash and go, or a wash and go that is hanging down. Like, that's when it's considered a successful wash and go if your curls are defined and hanging down. All these styles are considered successful. People do tutorials and get a whole bunch of views. And it's only when your hair is shiny, when your hair is defined or curly or molded, that's when people will like your video and consider that a successful wash and go. Now, let's look at, the definition that comes out of these styles. All of these styles are mimicking or just closer in curl pattern to somebody with type 3 hair, first and foremost. So already that should tell you, where we stand in this whole natural hair movement. Like, why are the standard ways of styling our hair in closer proximity to curly hair than they are to kinky hair? And I get it because, the natural hair movement began in the States, and like I had mentioned, everybody wants to be, yeah, like having type 3 hair is a new, like, not everybody, but for the most part. And then the rest of us who are trying to learn our hair, looking for tutorials, it's like your introduction. It's like natural hair styling 101. Like, you have to master these styles in order to style your hair. So when I got onto YouTube, when I big chopped, I was trying to learn my hair, that's what I kept finding. Because the big YouTubers, the people who get the most, shine, even if I was looking at 4C or 4B type naturals, these are the styles that they had. And I thought about it and and that's why, I'm so glad. And I feel like we really need to give African YouTubers some credit. We may not have the biggest followings and the but I would like to give, like, if I can even use my right hand, like, hand on my heart. Kudos to African YouTubers. You guys are saving lives. And I'm not trying to throw shade at African American or Black American YouTubers. Like, you guys are doing great as well. But I am so glad that we have a generation of people who grew up on the continent, or even if you live in the West or you're born in the West, there are people who are like first generation American or first generation European or whatnot, but they have like African parents from the continent. They have type 4B, 4C hair. They're coming from a place where it's actually a place of privilege, where you came from a majority Black country and you could, to a certain extent, embrace your natural hair more than maybe somebody who is a minority in the States. So that's something else that we have to think about. And they showed up, honestly, truly, like, they showed up, and it was mostly like Nigerian YouTubers. Like, kudos to them. Like, there might be Nigerians in Nigeria, or those who went to like the States for uni, or those who are born there, but they are the people who showed up and they were like, you know what, we have options. Like, we don't all have to do highly defined braid outs, twist outs, bantu knots, etc. whatnot, like F wash and goes. They showed up and they gave us options, like with updos. It could be learning how to flat twist, and I love how they don't even push styling products most of the time. Like, most of their styling videos, like, you don't even have to use a curl defining. Like, you just show up with your hair, use whatever makes you happy to moisturize it. It could be shea butter or cream, like whatever you want. Just show up with the hair on your head, 10 minutes of your time, and we will show you how to style it. And it's such a beautiful thing. And again, like, I am so grateful for African YouTubers. So with regards to bantu knot outs, braid outs, twist outs, and the like, I'm not saying we have to cancel them as kinky haired naturals. I just wanted, some of you to know that they aren't the only styles that you can do. Like, we actually have options, and options that don't involve you seeking out, curl defining products when your hair isn't even visibly curly. Yes, our hair curls, but I'm talking about curls that are really visible because that's what you want and what you're seeking. You have options to not have to, do that, spend money on a whole bunch of random products. And you also don't need to take literal days setting your hair in a style that might just last a couple of hours or just a day. When people with type 3 hair do these styles, it's closer to their curl pattern, so even just their maintenance routine is far easier, far less stressful, and you don't need to put yourself through that, week in, week out. Like it's stressful and demoralizing, and that's why people think natural hair is hard when it doesn't have to be. So I just thought I should add that in. And even I have a lot of unlearning to do, as well as, I also have to educate myself because I'm one of those people, who still seeks out these styles because I've spent years absorbing that kind of content. I'm doing better now. At least I know I have options, but I hope I can also get to a point where if I'm doing a braid out or a twist out, I'm doing it because I want to stretch my hair, which is also, quite important in terms of length retention or maintaining kinky hair. If I'm going to do, one of these styles, I hope I can do it, for the purposes of stretching my hair, but not necessarily to define it, to make it look a certain kind of way. So yeah, that's that on that. And the last thing I would touch on in terms of styling and why I think this whole notion of your curl pattern isn't important is the fact that not everybody who, goes natural or has natural hair, not everybody wants long hair. I know the loudest people in the natural hair movement are those who are trying to grow their hair down to their back, but it doesn't mean that they represent everybody. They're literally innocent, unproblematic children of God, okay, here on YouTube or just, the internet, the blogs on Instagram, who have tapered hair, who have short hair, could be shoulder length hair. They have no desire to go, past their shoulders. They want to rock really, really cute styles. Like, they aren't in this for, hair growth or maximum hair growth, this or that. They just want to style their hair. They just want to wear their natural hair as it is, and they're trying to learn how to do that. And the only way they can do that is if they find people with hair that looks like theirs. Trust me, the whole find somebody with low porosity or high porosity or medium porosity and work with that. Because, like I've been saying all along, we live in an unfair world or an unkind world, to be kinky. You need to look at people that are styling their hair and have their hair, be closer to a curl pattern to yours. Because if you're watching somebody with a curl pattern, you might have unrealistic expectations of what your hair is going to look like when you style it. So it is very, very important, you guys. Knowing your curl pattern is like the most important thing when styling your hair. So people who are arguing for that, yes, they're saying, like if you're trying to grow your hair, etc., whatnot. Guys, like, again, let's use our common sense. So that is where I will end in terms of styling. And the very, very, very last point that I will make as I conclude, which is something I guess I've been airing out, or it's just been a theme of this entire video, is that some of you need to normalize watching or just consuming content of people who look like you. I hope I haven't come off as, this type 3 basher or someone who wants to kick out, type 3s from the natural hair movement. I've tried to explain myself. Hopefully that made sense. Like, I'm not trying to fight anybody, but I just wanted to give you a certain point of view that I hope is, that I hope makes sense and can be understood and just, respected. I have nothing against, type 3 or looser hair. Like, first of all, like, you're born with that hair. Like, that's the hair that God gave you. Like, embrace it, love it, feel beautiful in that. In fact, like the world already thinks you guys are beautiful. So, like, you're closer to acceptance than we are. So, yeah, like, please, I am subscribed to so many people and I love them. I love their personalities. Most of their content is okay, fine. It's mostly entertainment for me, more entertainment than it is educational. And sometimes like you just get to meet people. It might start off with hair, but then you get to meet, like their families, their vlogs, the personalities, and that's a beautiful thing. Even just the exposure, just seeing people's stories. So I'm not saying I'm here to cancel type 3 naturals, type 2 naturals. No, but I also feel like like someone needs to feel sorry for type fours. Like we also, are fighting for something. Like it's not the same playing field. Not that it's a competition. We just want acceptance. We just want to be able to walk out of our houses, go out there in the world, and not overthink our hair. Like it's like it shouldn't be a big ask, but it still is, even in 2021. And that's what like we're fighting for. Just let us have our own space. And so if you're asking the time, like, what should people do then? Do what biracial or mixed African content creators do. And I actually love that, and I respect them for that. And I have seen like a couple of American YouTubers with type 3 hair do this as well. They identify and label their videos as curly hair. Very rarely do they say natural hair. And if they're going to use natural hair in the title, they preface it. Is it preface? Yeah, it is prefaced with curly hair. So they say curly natural hair. I feel like it's very helpful, you guys. It's very helpful. It's sensitive to the cause and just the history and even just the present times that we are living in. Like it's not a joke. Like, let's not catch feelings over things that we shouldn't catch feelings over. Like, if someone is just trying to tell you that people are trying to have some sort of space, some sort of voice, and some sort of visibility for something that is crucial to them, like, yeah, just try and listen, especially if it's true. So yeah, that's that on that. Please try and look for someone who looks like you. Of course, again, okay, fine. Like I don't want to repeat myself about how, like, I'm not here to hate on type 3s. I'm sure you got that the first time. But please, sometimes it's us who are the problem. Like the way, it was black people who were upset with that little H&M girl. Sometimes it's us, people complain about how type 4Cs don't get to be in campaigns. They don't get to be, to be visible. It could be media and the like. Nobody, is taking them seriously. We don't take ourselves seriously. You might have hair that is 4C or 4Z, but you don't want to watch anybody who has hair like yours because it's not what you want. Like, you already hate hair that looks like your own. But if you are at a place mentally, where you want to embrace it and you want to learn how to do your hair, grow it, maintain it, style it, look for people whose hair, looks like yours. And yeah, I will end my video here. And I had actually planned on doing like a compilation of some of my favorite natural hair YouTubers who have kinky hair. So ranging from 4A all the way to 4Z. But I know this video is way too long. In fact, I'm even scared it's like 2 hours long because I've been chopping it up. Like, I have no idea how long, it will be in total. So I will do a separate video in case you're interested, of just some of my faves. Not all, because I don't want to make a 3-hour video because there are so many. I'm subscribed to hundreds of people. But I think I'll do maybe like maximum of like 30, maybe 40 people, just like short clips of people who I watch in case you're interested and you're looking, because they're there on YouTube. Like people just don't want to watch them. They exist. People just don't want to watch. But yeah. Thank you for watching. If you've gotten this far, I look forward to hearing your commentary as well. And yeah, have a good day and a blessed week. Again, I apologize if there was a whole bunch of background noise. Like I said, I haven't done a sit-down video during the day in a really, really, really long time. And next time, the next time I do a sit-down, like, it'll be at midnight when everybody's asleep. Though sometimes, like, I have like a neighbor who comes home drunk in like a different yard. Like I said, the ghetto, and he makes a lot of noise. But yeah, we shall try. Like, fingers crossed next time there'll be no interruptions. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I guess I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello, and welcome to my blooper reel. So like I was preparing my I'm actually about to rinse it out. I'm listening to like random music, you guys, on Spotify, and One More Time by James Ingram. This was like the theme song of Sarafina. Like, show of hands, 90s or just 80s babies, especially African 80s babies. I feel like most of us like had Sarafina on VHS, like we had no choice in the matter. So anyways, love that soundtrack. And this song came on. And I don't know, like, if YouTube copyrights me, like, imagine getting copyrighted. Actually, I will get copyrighted. I just hope it's not a strike where like my video is blocked. But I love this song. You guys, this song used to be like everything for me as a kid. And I wanted to just jam with you guys. Like, I'm so dorky. I can't dance to save my life, but it is a tune. It really is. hopefully like the speakers on my phone are cool, and for all the 80s and 90s African babies, I hope you enjoy this throwback.